Hi everyone, I'm Alicia Fiorletta, Senior Editor of Retail TouchPoints, and joining me right now, Crosbie, who is the SVP of Global Retail at Prism Skylabs. Thanks so much for taking the time out.
Thank you.
So at the NRF show, it's a pretty interesting year because last year there's a lot of conversations around the brick and mortar store being in trouble a little bit. That it was going to be, phased out rather, by e-commerce.
Yeah.
But now the tone's kind of changing. It's about how brick and mortar can be enriched or ramped up a little bit with technology. So since this is sort of your sweet spot, why don't we start with that? Where do you think we stand right now in terms of the brick and mortar store, the in-store experience, especially with the results that we've gotten this holiday season?
Well, I don't think it's always been this way in retail. The retailers who are winning at the moment are the ones who are taking advantage of everything. So, if you look at the guys who have succeeded over Christmas, they've been the guys who have made full advantage of online, full advantage of their stores, used online to drive traffic to stores, vice versa. And they're just the guys who are smart at taking advantage of every channel. I think the key is now that whenever your customer wants to buy something, as a retailer, you need to make sure they can find it wherever that might be, whether it's online or in-store or any combination of click and collect and all these kind of things as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it's going.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a lot of conversations around creating that seamless or fluid omni-channel experience and what tools and technologies, what infrastructure should really be in place to make that happen.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where we come in because people understand or retailers understand what happens online. There's a lot of data they can pull up from that, but they don't understand what happens when it comes into a store. And what we're working on a lot with retailers now, or almost completely, is what we're calling the customer journey, which is a common term for retailers, but not just, counting people through a door is a basic thing. I think I was doing that in retail 30 years ago. You count people into the doors. But it's more what happens after that. So you get that basic of how many come in, how many come off the street, how many look at your windows, and then all into where exactly do they go, who do they interact with, what products do they touch, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's that we're building with retailers now so they understand that and then can adjust the stores accordingly, to take full advantage of that. So that, I would say, customer journey is the main thing we're talking with retailers about.
Right, and I could imagine, the real value of in-store analytics here is that you understand that customer journey, you understand, the process, almost the psychology of shopping that each person goes through, because it does vary from person to person.
It does, and everything affects it. Seasons, merchandise changes, new windows, new points of sale, new promotions, all these kind of things affect it. And so you need to know every time you change your store, what happened, and is it better, is it worse? Your sales figures, but you need to know underneath the kind of why, what happened.
The context.
There. Exactly, and that's what we help a lot with.
No, that's great, Cliff. I think, that context is really the exciting point of in-store analytics because, like you said, they used to rely on such static and basic information. Now they can sort of build up that foundation and really get that comprehensive picture of the customer. And we have seen some success stories from retailers, but where do you think this space is heading as we look at 2015 and beyond? Do you think it really will pick up momentum this year?
In terms of analytics?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's new analytics, so it's understanding what people touch and pick up and interact with in the store, so it's stuff that people haven't got before. But I think the key to it is, I've been in retail a long time, and retailers are focused on their customers, focused on their stores. The key is that you don't want to give people a whole ton of Excel data. You need to give them something they can just use straight away in the store. So I look in, I see what's happening, I understand what I need to do, and I do it. And I don't need to bring in a whole lot of analysis to do it. The analysis should come through the tools. And I think that's what we're delivering. Retailers, I've worked with people like Ingvar Kamprad and IKEA and all these kind of things, and good retailers know that when something's wrong, you've only got a few minutes, change it now and move on and go to the next thing. So historic data and old stuff, retail moves too fast. So you've got to know what's happening and be able to react in real time and sort these things out. So the key is knowing, not wasting any time having your store wrong. Your store's got to be right all the time. And so that's what we're trying to deliver for people.
Oh, that's great. And since you're really in the trenches, you're working one-on-one with retailers, why don't we close out with what's to come from Prism Skylabs? Obviously you're a sponsor of a Retail Innovation Conference, but what else is really in store for you guys in this exciting new era of retail?
Yeah, well, we work through cameras. So we use cameras as a sensor to pick up data. So we've been looking a lot at what we can do in that space as well. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But we've also looked at the whole dashboards and everything we created. We've looked at the path maps we do. So we've been doing path maps that show, how many people come in and what directions they go when they go into a store. Now we're looking at path mapping that whole store and understanding where people go exactly around the store, exact numbers, and also where they stay, and doing crowd analysis and all this kind of thing on top. Even down to just making sure you've got the weather and stuff like that on your site so you know. And because of the way we store the data, you can look at last week, last month, last year, and see what you were doing and check in, against that. So that whole suite of things that allow you to look and compare and react and change something within the store. And then on the cameras, we're looking at, building the software onto the camera so we can easily install. If we need new cameras, we run on the back of old cameras, and we just need to make it easy for retailers to put this in. All these cameras all exist all around retail all the time, but they're only used by security. Right. And I think, the biggest benefit we have is we can take the cameras, go into there, we wipe out all the people, and that's a big long discussion if you want to get into it, but basically when you look through this camera, you don't see the customers, you just see where they've been and what they've done. Okay. So especially in European markets where privacy is a huge thing, absolutely, we can keep it completely privacy.
You address that issue.
We address that completely, and so anyone in a company can look in the screens. There's no effect on privacy of staff or privacy of customers, but you still see all the data and you see what you need to see to be able to make decisions.
That's wonderful, Cliff. Well, it seems like it's a really exciting space. It's gaining momentum. Again, we've seen some success stories, and we're excited to see what the space holds in the future. So thank you again so much for taking the time out to speak with me today. And thanks everyone out there for watching.